Okay, this is nice and dry. I have my matte medium, what was it called? Opaque matte. But I realized that I sort of skipped a step. I told you this is really new to me. And I'm going to add some white gesso and see if I can blend some of these, I don't know what you call them, blend a little bit of gesso on here to soften the look of my patches. So I'm going to apply some with the brush, and I've seen a lot of artists just use their hands to do this. We'll see how brave I get. I don't know, there's a few pieces that are thick and that have lifted, so I'm not sure how this will all go. This was supposed to be my practice, and I did do this in the wrong order. So I'm going to add some color, but I'm going to let this gesso dry first. Gesso, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And the other pages that I'm trying in my book, I'm going to add the gesso before I add the texture paste. So I'm not sure the collaging, if all you're doing is preparing a base for your paint, but I sort of like how the collaging looks, so I'm a little compromised here. The other thing I told you I wasn't sure about is I added some of my die cuts early, and I don't know if I should have done that, so they might have another layer later. Since I'm going to add paint to the edges, let's see, let's put a piece of paper under here so it won't go through the next page. And I decided to set it, instead of worrying about my clothes, I'm just going to start wearing an apron. See how that goes. So I'm not as adventuresome as I should be. Maybe this will get me more used to that. I sort of picked out my scraps, my colors I liked, and that's why I'm not sure how much I want to cover. So we'll just add a little for this. They say by adding white gesso over, it makes it look like it belongs there. Since I don't know what belongs there. All right, I think that'll dry fairly fast, so I might be able to start my acrylics later. So I'm just going to lay this aside and do the other pages I was working on yesterday. So I'll put this aside to dry. Now I'm going to go to my beautiful book, and all I did was one page in this, or I started one page, and it's very similar to the practice page. So I did add flowers again, but they were duller flowers. And when I added some of my pieces, they went off the edge, so I'm just going to trim that. And I mentioned I cut up one of the songbooks. I put the gleaners here. I thought that was fall too, since this is sort of going to be my season book. Let's see. Let's just give it a try. We'll try the gesso again. Let's go this way. There we go. I find the light bright, so I didn't turn the overhead light on today. So I plan on using the same exact stencil I did for the other, and there's one good reason. I have misplaced my album of stencils. So I'm just going, since the other one was supposed to be a practice for this, I am going to use the same leaf stencil from Close to My Heart. And this won't be the title page, but it's close to the title page. So and I guess I could put a resist on things that I don't want to cover, and I might try that in the next page. Okay. Now again, I'm going to move this so it dries, and we'll try one more picture before I play with the acrylics. Now, this one is an older album, but it's new, and it's older because I cracked the binding, and I dropped it on the floor, and the binding cracked. So I've decided to use this as sort of a travel journal. Let's see, where's my translucent? I think what I'd like to do is put memories, a few memories from travel in this journal, and maybe even use some of those brochures I pick up and stuff like that. And I picked out a song from the songbook, and it's called A Merry Life. Sometimes I almost feel guilty when I travel. Does that make sense? I feel so fortunate to be able to. And I have to admit, my attitude on my trips with my husband are very merry. So I thought that song was apropos. So I'm just adding a little gesso before I try any other acrylics. And I cut out these letters that say Journey from some digital paper that I purchased on Etsy. And I'm going to put some gesso right in the crack here. I still think I might add washi tape, especially on this one since it's the front binding. Okay, I just rinse off the gesso of my hands and we'll add a little bit of color. Okay, let's try to add, maybe, I think I'll add a little bit of gesso there. I think I'm so hesitant because I really have never done this before, and I feel incompetent. So I'll try not to feel incompetent and just do it. I think I will close up my gesso for now. And since it's autumn time, I think I'll add a little bit of orange. It says turquoise, but it looks sort of green. Whoop. That's not good. I guess it has a flip top. These are just some very reasonable paints I picked up. And this yellow, I guess you can't see that, can you? Let me move over my colors here. Okay, this is a little bright yellow. I'm going to add some tangerine to it to make it a little more fallish. This is so new, it has a label on it. I picked up for my grandchildren a 16-pack at Sam's or something, and some colors they haven't touched at all yet. So this is just very reasonable paint. Nothing fancy. Figured I'd start with basics. Yeah, make that a little creamier. Okay. I shall be brave. Oh, I think I'll do a little blue too. I say start with two colors. I don't know which, since this has blue in it, that might have been wise. I think I'll turn this way. All right. I am going to, they say start with light. It's too bright. I don't like it. I think that's going to be my problem. I'm not sure what I'm doing, and the colors are way too bright. So I'm going to mist this and sort of spread it out a little. I like that color a lot better. So do you ever have a feeling like you're in the middle of a failure? That's how I feel right now. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to mix some of the blue and the green together. totally covered the name up. I'm not used to this collaging at all. Now when this dries, I think I'll add more white here so I can make sure I can journal. Mix some of this yellow and blue together. Get a greener color because I don't like the orange. All right, we're going to just stop this one and try the next one. I think for this one, I am just going to stick to the edges. And I'm going to have to learn a little bit more about color theory and how to mix paints and stuff, because I didn't like the end product there. So let's see. I'm just going to add some paint on the edges. I wasn't even going to paint this page today, but I figured since the gesso had to dry a little bit, it was a good place to start, because I haven't added any texture paint. Wiping some of the liquid away. And since I'm here, I am just going to add a little bit of the texture paste on so it'll dry, and then I'll come back to add some paint to that later. I found the first texture paint, oh, there goes my trash can. I found the first texture paint I added was a little bit thick in parts. I want to be careful about that. Yeah, it's definitely too thick. I'll just take that one off. I know this isn't dry, but I might try just a little bit here. See what happens. Might turn colors. Okay, we shall let this dry. And while I have that stencil out, I'm going to add a little bit to the journey page. There we go. Okay, we'll let that dry. And now I got to get brave. I want my original 2 pages to add some paint. Okay, the gesso has dried well already. This orange is way too orange. So we'll just remove that. Might keep that green. And I might try a little of this tangerine here, because there's quite a bit of tangerine under. Maybe by people watching this video, you learn what not to do. That's what I'm thinking. Let's grab another brush. What I have noticed watching other people is if they do have fails, they go back and just put white gesso over it. So that sounds interesting to me. Okay, I'm just doing a tad over the pretty molding, the pretty, what is it called? Modeling paste we used, texture paste. I think this is supposed to make it flow, and all I see is a mess, so we shall see what we do with this. If I can save this, it'd be beyond me. So I'm so glad that I'm trying in very basic, reasonable books. Okay. My experiment's done for today. We'll let this dry out and then I'll see where I go with it. Thanks for joining me for my adventure.